Hey everybody, and welcome back to 31 Days of Indie Horror. I'm your host, Jonathan Moody. I'm here with
Skylar.
Skylar. Sky, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. Just a long day, but I was off work, so I was very productive, kind of.
Yeah, so you're off work today, but you were busy still.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. I had the chiropractor, took the dog on a walk, so I was busy.
You went to the chiropractor today?
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Are you
Well,
good?
yeah. I mean, I originally went 3 times a week. It was like $6,000 for a year. It was
Oh,
crazy. It was crazy, but
okay.
I feel much better. Like my X-rays have changed and stuff, and I know that chiropractor is a very controversial subject today because some people think they hurt you or help you, but I'm much better now. So thank you.
Okay, well, there you go. Yeah, I was telling you earlier, I was mowing the lawn in this fucking heat, and it was
Mhm.
so nice to watch a movie with snow in it, the
Yes.
whole time. Because it made me like think I was cooler than it actually was outside,
Right. Yeah.
So I think we both sort of watched this today,
Hmm.
or whatever. So it's fresh, sort of should be fresh on our minds. And you said you saw this before, right?
I saw this like 10 years ago. It was in a red box, and I was living with my roommate Brandon at the time, and he would watch some horror with me, and I made
Hmm.
him watch it. I don't think he liked it, but he's not a horror fan, so
Oh,
you know.
wait. So he's not a horror fan, but he watched it because
Yeah, because I wanted to.
his friend told him to, basically.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like that when I'm with my roommate Jackie. She's not like she was a horror actress, but she wasn't like she's not into horror. She's into
Mhm.
comedy and other stuff. So when I would sort of force her to watch horror films from time to time. But she enjoys it, or she enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
you know, hopefully that'll happen again one day. I'll have her as a roommate again because that's
Right.
you know. But yeah, this movie was, you know, I I remember the Red Box days of like when independent films would show up there, movies
Mhm.
you hadn't heard of. It doesn't happen as much. Like Red Box is more of the mainstream stuff now.
Right.
So I barely ever see, occasionally I'll see something, independently done, but most of the time it's, Deadpool or whatever,
Right.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. Um, I don't remember ever renting this movie or seeing it at all. Like this was a blind watch for me, which I like to do. I like most of these are blind watches because I'm just like going through Tubi going, that looks kind of cool, and some of them are great, and some of them are not so great.
Do
And
you watch
this,
the trailers or no?
what
Do you watch the trailers or no?
I did not know.
Okay.
I didn't want sort of any hint. Like I
Yeah.
knew the synopsis, had to read the synopsis a little bit, and I knew that there was like it was about the Donner Party kind of thing, Donner family.
Yeah.
But I didn't know much else other than that, and I'm very glad I didn't.
Mhm.
I don't know if this did the trailer spoil anything.
I didn't watch the trailer, but like
Okay.
now, even today, I stopped watching trailers because it shows like the whole entire movie. Like, what was it? Barbarian. I didn't watch that trailer, and I was shocked that Justin Long was in there because I had no idea. So when I saw him, I was like, "Oh my gosh, he's in here!" So I've stopped watching trailers because to me, I just want to be completely surprised, and I usually am. So that's why I've stopped watching trailers, especially for horror.
Yeah, and for me, it is better to go blind, but like when they have like trailers for like long legs or whatever, like right before the movie you're gonna watch,
Mhm.
because that's how they make their money in the movie theaters. Um, because I saw a bunch of trailers, I was like, that looks pretty cool. Like I want to see that movie.
Yeah,
Coming up, a lot of horror, a lot of good horror this year.
let's hope
Um,
so.
I mean, this will come out. This is 31 Days of Indie Horror, so this is, October that this comes out. And by then, I would have probably seen most of what I was excited about. So hopefully, by the time that this comes out, I'll be like, yeah, some
Yeah.
great horror. You know, there's like, a ton coming out. But uh, s- but this one I had never heard of, and so when I saw it, I was like, oh well. and it had cannibalism, right? Thing, so I was like,
Yeah.
well, cannibalism, Texas Chainsaw. I know Sky likes Texas Chainsaw, maybe. And then you were like,
Yeah.
I've seen this movie, and I was like, oh, okay. I'm not surprised, but I am a little surprised.
Yeah.
You know. So this movie was okay. I mean, it was, honestly, I kind of want to own it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, at some point I want to buy it on like DVD. I wish that they put out a Blu-ray of it, like, why not? Um,
Right.
but it's not the greatest. Like it's a standard slasher,
Yeah.
mid 2000 slasher film that kind of uh it has the plot of all like the 80s and 90s slashers where the group of friends are going up to the mountains and then their
Hmm.
other friends come and kind of hijack and make a party and then all of a
Right.
sudden each one gets killed one by one, you know.
Right. And see, okay, so any horror that takes place in the woods or in the cabin in the woods, I will always watch it, period.
Mm.
And I'll probably like it, even if it's not good, because there's just something so nostalgic and just scary about being in a cabin in the woods. Like, I just love it.
But am I correct to say like because I mean you're an Evil Dead fan, right? Like you like that
I
series.
never saw the original.
That's what I was gonna ask. So you've never seen the original.
No, I
You
saw
get
2013 and I loved it.
you gotta watch the original at some point. It's
Yeah.
really really good.
Do you think the remake was good, or were you not a fan of the remake?
I like the remake.
Okay.
I think it was I liked the remake and then I liked the Uh, so we had to do that for horror film lovers with my friend John Ward for Mainstream Monday. We went through so we watched from the newest one, Evil Dead Rise, all the way to the original Evil Dead. So we
Okay.
reviewed all those. And then for the Evil Dead one, we got the guy who did who did the special effects and created the Book of the Dead,
Uh-huh.
on our show talking about it. And he gave us
Right.
some like insight into like, because we weren't at that point, we weren't really reviewing the film. Like, we were more talking about it, discussing
Right.
it because we love that movie. The first
Yeah.
Evil Dead is great. The remake's pretty good, and even the newer one, Evil Dead Rise, was pretty good too. It's
Right.
one of the few franchises that actually, you
Like
know,
all of.
yeah, I like all of them separately and in my own way or whatever. Um
Yeah, I do. I like
but
them.
this movie I wonder if they were ever trying to do a sequel for it
Mhm.
because they kind of left it open-ended where they could have a sequel, but I don't know like if they even really wanted to,
Yeah.
um
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing they didn't make that much money off this movie, which is probably why they don't have a sequel.
right. um
Maybe. But there are some out there like Big Ben. Do you know what Big Ben is?
I know what Big Ben is. I've never heard
Well,
of the
there's a
movie.
found footage film called Big Ben, and there's like five of them.
What?
But it's terrible. I think it's called B- Big Ben, and it takes place in this house, and there's a baby, and it's a ghost, and it's found footage, and there's like five of them. And I couldn't get through the first one.
Wait, what? So Big Ben is the big clock, right?
Yeah, but there's a horror movie, and it's found footage called Big Ben.
So is it about the clock or is it
I
about
don't
like
think it's
somebody
about a.
named Big Ben?
I think it's about a baby.
Named Big Ben?
No, I just remember I was watching the first one, and then I heard a baby like crying, and I was like, I can't do this. I like turned it off. But they have like five of them, so I'm like, I guess you don't have to make that much money to have sequels.
Well, and especially if you're doing it independently. So like there's a bunch of found footage films that have like almost like 10 of them
Mhm.
that are basically, I hate to say it, but they're ripoffs of Paranormal Activity, but
Yeah.
they're like found footage anthology stuff or whatever. So pretty much they just get people to send in their found footage short films and then they put it into
Right.
one feature and
Oh, it's
stuff.
Bad Ben. It's Bad Ben.
Bad Ben. I was like, wait. This was getting a little confusing for me for a second. All right.
Yeah.
The Bad Ben. Okay. Big Ben is like a huge clock that I think or something like
It
a
says
thing
the
in like
budget was
England.
$300.
300. Well, I mean, I'm
And
not
they have like,
surprised. And that was probably catering if they did any.
yeah, good for
Mhm.
them though. I'll have to get into those one day.
I don't know why people actually put the $300 on IMDb because the truth of the matter is, like, you can put whatever you want in there. Nobody's gonna really
No,
check. And,
yeah,
you know, um, putting actually what it costs is not what you do. Unless
yeah.
it literally did not cost them anything. They're like, oh, we'll just put 300 on there.
Oh, I
Mm.
didn't know that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah. Well, and especially for independent films, because you want a distributor to buy your film, and if they see it on IMDb and they see that it costs $20,000, they're only going to give you $20,000 in return for
Mhm.
the movie, right? But if it looks like it costs 20, if it says like 100 grand, but it was actually cost 20 grand, you might actually get a bigger return on your
Right.
investment and stuff when you negotiate. Because people will believe, oh man, that costs 100 grand, but when you really look at the real, like budgets and stuff,
Yeah.
it's a lot lower. Um,
You know a lot more about that than I would. So,
well, I'm here to help you,
yeah.
you know. And I don't know what this costs. What did this cost? Did they even say on IMDb for it? Let's see. Donner Pass. Uh, so did this live up to your what you remembered it?
Honestly, yes.
Okay.
Because there's some parts I did not remember.
Right.
I had thought my very first note, and then I stopped taking notes. But the first note was that I remembered more kids at the cabin because when they were in the car going, I was like, weren't there more people in the cabin than this? And then that explains it because on through the night, that's when
Yep.
the other guys came. So, but then
Yeah.
I forgot the twist at the end with
You,
like
wow. Well, you can spoil it. You can spoil
yeah,
anything
I
if
forgot the
people.
twist at the end where basically it's like the way I would describe it is like vampires, but they're cannibals, right? Because like he's been alive since what, like 1800, and then
Yeah.
he feeds, and then he stays young, and then he feeds, and he stays young, and then he feeds, and he stays young, right? Like
Hmm.
that's the what I got from it.
So yeah, what he does, and this is a little weird if he's been doing it for this long. Like, I mean, and there's a few things that they don't tell you enough about.
Mm-hmm.
Like how do these guys know each other? Like are there
Yes, like yeah, like the guy's cabin. I said, "How was this guy invited?" And then I found out it was his place. But I'm like, "How is he even like like friends with these people? Like they're terrible people. They're terrible characters. like,
right?
except for that one guy that I liked, but um,
Are you
unpopular
talking
opinion.
what?
The main guy, I didn't think he was that bad. I kind of liked him.
Oh, you mean the guy, the hero guy, not the
Yeah,
villain
I didn't think
guy.
he was that bad.
Interestingly enough, the guy who turns out to be the bad guy, which is the friend who invites everybody there,
Mm-hmm.
he played John Hinckley Jr. in Timeless. Now, what's funny about that to me is that like there's a show called Timeless. I forgot who made it. It was somebody. Probably Eric Kripke or there was two shows. There's Time After Time and Timeless that came out around the same time, both produced by people I liked. But Timeless had so John Hinckley Jr. was the guy that tried to shoot Reagan and failed, right?
Mm.
And so they had an episode called like The Day Reagan Was Shot, um, or whatever. And they had that guy play John Hinckley. And that guy and the real John Hinckley lived in Williamsburg because we have a in Williamsburg, Virginia, where I live, we have a place called Eastern State. It's a mental hospital, and he was
Oh,
there at that mental hospital, and like his parents lived in like Kings Mill, which is like the richy rich
yeah,
area, and they were there trying to support him and help him out through whatever. And now he's out,
that was
you
a.
know.
I did not know.
Yeah, he's out. Like he's out of the mental hospital. Apparently he's living in Williamsburg. So I'm like, I'm just gonna be nice to everybody I see in
The one that
Williamsburg.
tried to shoot him.
The one
That
that
one.
tried to shoot Ronald, yeah. and he tried to
Wow.
shoot Ronald Reagan, I believe, because he because of Taxi Driver and because of Jodie Foster.
I saw that on the internet the other day about Jodie Foster. I didn't click on it, but it was a headline. So I wasn't
Yeah.
sure about it. I didn't know that he lived though. I just figured that he got shot too,
Oh,
considering
that
he was
guy,
like,
no, he got arrested.
wow.
That was way before like they shoot to kill now, you know?
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
nowadays we've seen, hold on one second.
Okay.
My dog's trying to come in and stuff, and I gotta put him up on my bed real quick.
What kind of dog do you have? Mhm.
Yeah, I don't. He he was just kept clawing at the door, and it just drove me nuts.
What kind of dog do you have?
He's a toy poodle.
Oh,
Yeah,
little.
he tiny, he tiny. I'll show him to you later.
Yeah.
He does not want to be like here. He just wants to be on my bed lying down. That's it. So yeah, all that happened, and so that was way before all things have gotten to where they are today and everything. So it was really funny because I was just looking up his IMDb and I saw that and I was like, I guess he could resemble that guy, but I'm kind of feel bad that he's now typecast as like killers, like you
Yeah.
know.
He played a good one though. I mean, I thought he did good.
I thought he did great because like the
Yeah, he's
whole
actually
time you just thought of him as the shy like loser
weirdo.
kind of guy. Yeah, weirdo, kind of creepy
Yeah.
guy. But like creepy in a like just like you just don't want to hang out with him kind of way, right?
Yeah.
But he's he got out there and like he invited the guys over and like I what I liked was we got a campfire story in a car. I've never seen that before.
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah,
See? I thought of it. I didn't even think of that.
right? Like
Yeah.
we got they he's where we see all the Donner Party in the beginning of the movie, you
Mhm.
know, fighting each other and and I was like this seems like a horror film written scene of that because like I guarantee they weren't bickering as much as like that that was making them out to because that's what horror films do, right? They
Right.
have the characters bicker a lot,
Right.
it's easier to have everybody yelling at each other and snapping and maybe they were, I don't know, I don't nobody really knows the exact truth of what happened, right?
Yeah.
So, but anyway, yeah, so then all of a sudden it flashes to them in a car and him telling the story, and I'm like, that's pretty neat. Like, I never thought about ever doing something like that. Like,
Yeah. I didn't think of
so,
that either.
so they did, and they end up what is it? Going on that. So they're going to the place and then they go to this other restaurant called something and ale. Um,
Yeah.
was it steak and ale or something?
Yeah, I think so. But like the thing, like some of these scenes, I feel like were pointless because like one of the scenes in the restaurant that I thought would have significance was when the waitress was like, "Do I know you? Like you look so familiar," and the girl was like, "No, I don't think you know me." Like I thought that like would have meant something, but it didn't.
I
So I'm
thought she
a
was
little
talking
disappointed
to
that.
the boy, to the
Oh,
guy.
maybe she was talking to the boy. I thought she was talking to the girl.
No, I think she was talking to the guy. And now that you say that, that does, because she thought they went to like high school together.
Oh, they probably did then, and he's still young.
Right.
Okay, so there you
I
go.
think because he goes, no, no, whatever, right? He kind of like brushes it off. And like, I think that was the point was that they were trying to, before the whole thing, you
Right,
were supposed to get a glimpse, like a foreshadow that this guy was not who he says he is
right.
necessarily. So, plus, though, it sort of would be like a little confusing because, like, I mean, I don't know how old the waitress was, but she looked their age, or close to it,
Mhm.
right? Like, she didn't look like she wasn't like 40 years old,
No.
you know. That would have been, well, then that might have told a little something, but you know, there could have been a cool scene where like a 40-year-old woman was like, "You remind me of a guy that I used to know," you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
and went to high school with, and oh, you're such a cutie, right? And then, you know, later it comes to pass that he did know her because did go to high school together because he's been keeping
Hmm.
himself young. Um,
Hmm.
so anyway, yeah, that scene didn't bother me. I did like the idea that we got to know the relationships between everybody pretty early. So like there's the, you know, and there's a lot of actual, not that now that I'm like looking back at it, it's definitely a movie that when you see it a second time and you're gonna catch like things that you didn't really think about. Like remember when she was in the car and he like leaned over on her or whatever and that one girl freaked out
Yes, this is one of my notes. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then later it turns out that she was uh I don't know if I'm allowed to say this word on fucking, but I'm going to. She was raped, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, see, I just haven't been thinking very much today, but you're absolutely right. Now that makes sense because I was like, God, I was like, she's such a bitch. Like, how could
I
anyone be
thought
friends with
she was
awful?
too. I thought she was terrible. But
Yes.
also she has a boyfriend, you know.
Hmm.
So she probably felt like the third wheel anyway, or whatever. Like she did
Yeah.
not want to be there because, she wanted to be with her boyfriend. She didn't want to be with these people who were,
Yeah.
making out or whatever, like they don't she doesn't want to be with her cousin and cousin boyfriend, which
Yeah.
I thought that was like a secret or something. Were they trying to keep it a secret at first that
Are
they
you
were
talking about the
dating?
two, like the main guy and that
Yeah,
girl?
the main
I
guy and the
don't
main
know.
girl.
Yeah, because then later on in the film, because I always thought they were a couple, and then later on in the film, they were talking, and he's like, "Come on, I'm not a bad guy," and she was like, and so I was like, "Are they not a couple?" Because I thought they were a couple, but that sounds like they're not a couple yet. So I
Right.
couldn't really figure that out.
So there was a couple things, no pun intended, that I noticed with that. So the beginning of the movie, when they're at right before the restaurant, they're kind of talking. It sounded like they hadn't told anybody that they were dating yet. It was just a friend was coming up, or
Right?
whatever, and friends were coming there or whatever. So there was not, and she probably was just a friend, but they were sort of trying to be more than friends. I mean, he
Yeah,
had a room for her, and then she decided to stay by herself because she was pissed at him. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But and then on top of that, yeah, your line, the I'm not a bad guy, and then she says, there's the, just because you're not a bad guy doesn't mean you're a good guy, which
yeah,
I love that line, by the way. That was one
yeah,
of my favorite lines. And the thing was like, because that's really true. Like I sent that to my friend Ashley. I was like, that's a great line. And she was like, wow, that's true.
yeah. I've never thought of that either, but you're right.
Yeah. So, and you could think you're a good guy or whatever, but you have to actions, and a lot of his actions was going toward the other group because he wanted to be popular, right?
Yeah.
Like he wanted to blend in. He even told his friend, if you just be cool with these people,
Hmm.
we can all be friends and everything, and then
Yeah.
your social status will go up. So I was like thinking, are they in high school together? And like,
I assumed high school.
I assumed high school too,
Yeah.
which was a little weird. Maybe senior, but I'm like, at senior, are you really worried about your social status at that point? Because you're almost done, you know?
Yeah, because it's not college. Like when I was a senior in high school, there were like no cliques anymore. Like everybody was just with everybody, because you're about to go off to college, you don't care.
You don't care. Senior year, you're just like, and you're a lot nicer by then because you just don't care.
Yeah,
Like I noticed that when I was a senior in high school, like people that were dicks to me, like through like ninth to 11th grade. When I got into senior year, they're just like, "What's going on, man? How you doing?" And I'm like, you weren't like a dick to me earlier, like, and
yeah,
now like literally people just don't care because it's their last year. They're trying to
yeah,
have fun. They're trying to have them make the best of it, and then when you go off and do their own thing, and I I didn't really know those people, those necessarily those. assholes. But that one guy, the main asshole Derek, I guess was the character's name. He looked very much like James Franco to me. I don't know. He had a
Yeah.
James Franco thing going on.
Hmm.
Uh, and I liked him. I don't know if that was the if that was one you liked or not, but
Wait, that wasn't the one in the hot tub, right?
no, that was AJ. I
And it
think
wasn't the one that got killed in the car.
that was Brody.
Okay, so the guy that was with the redhead, that's who you're talking about, right?
No, that was Mike. That was the
Okay.
main guy. But
Yeah.
the other one that was with the girl who got raped.
The
She,
boyfriend of her.
yeah, the boyfriend of
Oh,
her.
yeah, 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 yeah.
I liked him.
Yeah, I don't think he was that bad.
Yeah, see, well, I mean, he was bad. He was not a good guy because, like they literally set that guy up to die, which I don't. I mean, I think he did something really fucked up, you know.
Yes. But
But
that's not the time or the place.
I know, like, that's where you go and call the cops or
Hmm.
whatever, you know.
Like if we were in a cabin like that and that news came up, I think the last thought on our mind would be, well, what should we do with them now? Like I would be worried about the kill. I wouldn't be worried about seeking revenge on my rapist, you know?
Right. And then like using him as bait for
Yes.
the what for the killer, which or whatever which they actually they really accept the fact that this is Donner very
Hmm.
quickly. You
Hmm.
know, like it's
Yeah.
not like they don't like maybe it's their juvenile like attitude or whatever, but they most of the time they're just like, yeah, okay, it's now a ghost of the Donner family that's doing it. And I was like thinking, how is a ghost? Because there's two things I noticed that made me go, this is not a ghost, or think that there wasn't a ghost. So
Yeah.
when the guy is holding the girl down in the hot tub, um, the one blonde girl or whatever,
Yes.
into the hot tub and killing her, and then the guy's peeing, and then he
Yeah.
turns and he's like, "Oh, are you ready for me?" And he turns around as he's turning around the guys, whoever it was, which we find out later. I guess it was the other guy, but he actually, who was it?
I know because I'm like, was it the Epstein guy or was it our main character?
It must have been. No, it couldn't be the Epstein guy because wasn't he tied up?
Yeah, in the barn.
He was tied up in the barn, I think.
Right.
And then he was going to get let loose later or
Hmm.
whatever by the main guy. I don't know. There's so many little things like I'm a little confused about, but
And see, my whole thing is the main guy. I don't even know his name. The weirdo, the shy weirdo. That's what I'll call him. He's puny. I feel like he was very puny, and the guy in the hot tub was like 6 feet at least. Like I just feel like that's unrealistic for someone to. I don't know.
no,
Unless
he killed the girl in the hot tub though. So it is a little bit realistic maybe, especially if he kind of sneak attacked her, but like and she can't scream if she's underwater, right?
yeah.
So he didn't have a clue. But I mean, and then the person like saunters off like really
Hmm.
fast. I was like, why doesn't the ghost just disappear? Like if it's a ghost, it
Huh?
doesn't need a run, right?
Yeah.
I was like,
Right.
is this a human doing all of this?
Yeah.
Or I thought maybe zombie, but then I was like, a zombie in a coat? I mean, I don't know. It just seemed really weird.
Yeah.
Um, it it wasn't, it was a little confusing, and I didn't necessarily bother me, but it was sort of like I wish a lot of this stuff had been fleshed out.
Yeah. And one of the problems I have is we didn't see an like a real kill until like an hour because you had the guy in the car. It didn't show that. I mean, I guess we saw a kill in the beginning with the
Right.
party, but you didn't see the girl in the hot tub die for like an hour, I think, into the movie,
And
you
even then,
know?
that was pretty lame too, because most of the
Yeah.
time you're going back and forth between her and the guy peeing. Um,
Hmm.
were they gonna have sex in the hot tub? Is that my
I
like out in
but
the public? Like
they were one of the worst couples I've ever seen in my life.
I know, like I didn't understand any of what was happening,
No.
And they invited the other group into the hot tub or whatever, and then the one girl was like, "We don't have bathing suits," and he was like, "That's the point."
Yeah.
you know,
I
right?
do actually like that she was killed in the day. I actually did like that because a lot of these movies you don't see daytime killings, like especially in the woods. It's usually always at night. And then
Right.
they'll go into the next day and then at night it starts happening again. But
Right.
here it was just like, you know,
Well, you know why that happens, you generally in independent films.
because they don't
Because the blood's bad. You know, like all the blood effects and stuff are generally terrible. So if you do it at night, it looks better. You know,
oh.
it looks like,
Yeah.
if you ever think about it, you watch these movies and you're like, oh crap, somebody died. You don't really need to see like a lot of that stuff because it's dark. So you don't
Do they use pig's blood?
they use corn syrup and they don't use pig's blood, but they use what was used in pig's blood for Carrie, which I
Oh,
think is what
okay. So
you're saying is like from the movie Scream. They said,
yeah.
he said this is corn syrup and food coloring generally is what they use and stuff. It tastes good, you know.
Right.
That's why like vampire characters have so much fun licking their, things because it doesn't taste like blood, you know.
Yeah.
It tastes like corn syrup. It tastes sugary.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's
yeah, but it's also really sticky and I remember I remember going because we shot a one movie of this short film and then afterwards it was late like it was early in the morning like or whatever and like 6 or 7 or something and we wanted food so we went to like IHOP bloody
yeah.
just showed up and the people are like, whoa, what happened to you guys?
Oh,
Because,
that's fun.
yeah. So I love it when fake blood and everything. I mean, I use CGI blood, but like, not as I would prefer fake blood if over anything
Mhm.
because, it's always better to have that. And this movie had, good special effects, I think.
Yeah.
They weren't bad. It's just, it wasn't laughable or anything.
Yeah.
Um, Now it's funny because they say they shot in Donner Pass or whatever, or I'm not they shot, but they were in Donner Pass. They actually shot in Big Bear in California.
Okay.
So Donner Pass is actually in like northern California, and Big Bear is in Southern California. I don't Big Bear's where they go skiing, and stuff. So there is snow you know. Uh,
Okay.
but it's weird because it's Southern California, so I don't know when this happens necessarily or how, but it's the mountains. So in the mountains you're gonna get snow more than
Right.
anything. But yeah, they shot in Big Bear and they said Monterey, which I used to live like by Monterey Park, and stuff. So
Right.
kind of sad that I watch this now like I wish I was living in LA and I could go over there.
Did you live in LA?
I did live in LA from 2020 to 2021.
Do you miss
Yeah.
it or no?
Oh yeah. Absolutely. I
Really?
would I would move there in a heartbeat
I've heard
again.
terrible things about LA.
I mean, it's for
I
what
guess
I
the
want to
bad,
do, you know.
yeah.
What were you saying?
I guess just like the bad parts of LA, like Skid Row, and just obviously there's good parts of LA, but all you hear about is the bad parts about it.
Well, and the
You've
good
never been.
parts are more expensive. You
Oh,
know.
definitely. I would love to go for the food.
You'd love to go visit or something?
Yeah, for the food.
Honestly, yeah. So Paul, who you met on Indie Film
Yeah.
Cafe, we drove all the way from Virginia to Los Angeles in my van, and we got there on New Year's Eve. That was the plan. Like we had this whole plans mapped out. Like the day after Christmas, we leave, we go there, we go to a bunch of different states, right? And then we go to like Las Vegas for 2 days because I'd never been to Vegas and I was
Mhm.
super excited to just be there. And then we went to California and or in LA and woke up on like what's it? Huntington Beach, I think. I think.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean it was nice. It was a nice like, little trip, right?
No, sounds
And
amazing.
Paul loved the food. Like he was so happy. He hates California. He just doesn't like
Right.
I don't know, whatever. It's too expensive. There's just it's not for him. Um,
Right.
but he loved the food though.
Yeah.
And where I was living, where I ended up moving into was San Gabriel, which was more uh like it was basically Chinatown area. So there's a lot of Chinese restaurants and people cooking Chinese food. It was
Oh,
smelled beautiful, great every day of my life, walking
yeah.
outside. I wanted to go to people's house and say, "Hey, can I eat with you guys?" Because stuff smells delicious.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. I love doing that. Like I just couldn't afford the food, like the real good food,
Yeah.
and shit, because paying rent was enough, So I was lucky if I got like ramen, and shit like that when I was living.
Wow.
Yeah, it's expensive, like,
Yeah.
and then we got the 2020 shutdown,
Yeah.
and we got
Georgia was,
money.
yeah, Georgia was pretty lenient with that. So, but some states were shut down for like 6 months, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. We were shut down for a while.
Yeah.
They did not want us to go anywhere and whatnot. But anyway, it was fun. I love living there. Like I said, I wish I had known because I would have seen if I could visit some of the spots that they shot this movie in. That was the one
Yeah.
thing reason why I moved to LA is because I wanted to be able to be a person who lived there but be a tourist and run around and see all the spots that of all horror films like Halloween and whatnot.
Oh, yeah, but that was cool.
Yeah, it was fun. I'll tell you more about it later because,
Yeah.
that's not the story
Yeah.
here. But so honestly, having not seen this movie at all and not knowing the twist was pretty cool. I was I was happy with the fact that it was humans, though not humans. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
guessing the idea of, the Donner Party, like if you ate the flesh of humans, you craved it more and it made you stay young, you
Yeah.
know, or whatever. And so you crave more and more and more, and then and then you had to keep feeding yourself or whatever. There was like a line in it where he said something about um, you can't help me not stay hungry or something,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
can't stop the hunger or something like
Yeah.
that.
Right. And he did a great job, like, because I did not see that coming. I was
Yeah.
like, because when he stayed back, it was because they told him to, right?
Right.
And stuff. So I had no idea. I thought, oh crap, maybe there are actual like ghosts of them here. Nope, it was him killing and feeding the one girl, Nicole or whatever I think was her name, the
Yeah.
cousin. She jumped on being like a cannibal like pretty freaking quick.
Yeah, but
Um,
my whole question about that is she was acting like a zombie, right? Like she
yeah.
had that hunger and she was like she was very animalistic, but he was normal. So why is he acting normal if he has the same hunger? Like why
I
isn't
think
he
it
all crazy like her?
I think he said something about it was different for everybody, you know?
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
everybody is different. Like everybody has a different way it hits them or whatever. Because for her
Yeah.
it hit her quick too.
Yeah.
And I think for him it was a slower thing and then he realized, "Oh, okay, I can keep surviving if I eat flesh," which
Yeah.
does technically make him a zombie. But he
Right.
stays young, which makes him a vampire. I don't know, is he a zompire? I mean, like a zombie vampire.
Yeah.
Um,
That could be a new one.
I, I,
Go
I,
down.
yeah, I don't really think there are zompires. I never heard that term, so I don't think I made it up. Um,
Yeah.
that would be cool though. But yeah, I would, whatever they were, whatever, wh- you know, um, I, I did love every character. I loved every actor. The girl who played the cousin who got raped,
Yeah.
she was, uh, she was in, The Purge. Do you know that?
She looked familiar. I just didn't see which purge was she in?
The
The
the not
original?
not the first Purge, which is called I mean, the one that's called The First Purge, but the actual original Purge movie.
Oh,
The
which
one
one
with
was she?
Ethan Hawke. She was Ethan
Yeah.
Hawke's daughter.
Yes, she was. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. I didn't realize it until I looked her up and I was like, she was in The Purge? Like, it must have been a small role. And I looked
Yeah.
into it and I was like, nope, not a small
Yeah.
role. That's a pretty big one. And I was like,
Right.
out of all the actors, honestly, I didn't like her acting at first. Like, I was so, and maybe it was because she was a good actor that I really
Yeah.
just didn't like her, you
To
know?
me, she's just blah. Like, I just don't like blah characters. Like, I feel like all the girls in here were just blah,
Right.
you know?
Well, except
Like, I like loud, fun, bubbly characters, and none of
I
them
like
were
the
very,
redhead girl.
yeah.
I thought she had a little bit more pizzazz,
Hmm.
personality. Um, the one scene I did like was when he said that he would find them alcohol, or whatever,
Yeah.
and they would go, and she's like, "Can I go downstairs with you?"
Yeah.
I was like, either something bad's gonna happen there,
Yeah.
or they're gonna like start liking each other, you
Yeah.
know, kind of thing. And nothing really developed with that, except there was a line later where he asked about her, because he had that little mini connection with her, you
Right.
know, and stuff. And the boyfriend got real jealous quickly. It was like,
Yeah. He was like, what do you care?
yeah, what's it to you, buddy? I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
Just typical
dude,
douche jock.
I know. Is that who did you ever date anybody like that? Like a
Not
douchebag
really.
jock?
Not
Um,
really.
I never ever hung out with people like that. Like,
I
um,
feel like in a lot of movies, cliques in the movies aren't the same in real life. Like, I don't think we ever had like like a group of mean girls, at least in my high school. I don't think we did. And like in my high school, prom queen was like a band person you'd never even like heard of. Like, it was never the popular girl that got prom queen.
'cause the popular girl never wanted it,
Yeah.
really. But it's a
Yeah.
it's a TV thing, it's a movie thing, and people like that because it's familiar
Yeah.
and people whatever. But you're right, nobody nobody votes for. They always vote for the person who I don't know. It's usually the person who like tries to be prom queen, like the most
Hmm.
or whatever. Um, but yeah, I didn't really like because you're right about the clicks because the only show that I think is most identifiable as like realistic um for clicks is Saved by the Bell because
Hmm.
in real life, you would have the popular kid who grew up with the nerdy kid who was his best friend since high school or whatever. He became popular, or not high school, like elementary school. They become popular. The nerdy kid becomes popular with them,
Right.
and then the hot cheerleader usually sort of was interested in that because those kind of usually it was the jocks and the cheerleaders go. So it'd be like AC Slater and Kelly, not
Yeah.
the preppy kid and Kelly.
Yeah,
But
that's a good point. Yeah.
I still love that show. I can't
I know.
don't like I don't know if you've seen the new one, but it,
With
it,
people like with Mark Paul Glossier, like the same people? Or like
it,
is there like
so it's got Mark Paul and it's got Tiffany. It's got almost everybody, but Screech had passed
oh yeah.
around the second season of it. So he didn't even get invited to the first season, which I think was sort of messed up. Everybody else was there. Slater was there. Jesse, they work at the school.
Okay,
Uh,
so it's about a new group of kids and
yeah.
they're the
It's like
oh,
it's Zach's kid,
okay. I did
and
not watch
Zach and
obviously.
Kelly's kid because they're still married from their wedding in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah. And then you had the Hawaiian one. I forget who got married in that one.
I think Jesse was going to
Jesse's dad.
see Jesse's
What did,
dad. She's gonna go see
yeah.
Jesse. But anyway, like that was like the most, realistic of how I viewed people that, at least in my town and everything. I think that's why I connected with it because, like the popular kids always liked me,
Mhm.
Because I think because I wasn't a threat to them, you know,
Right. Yeah.
like and because I hung out with people who like one of my best friend's brother was the popular guy, one of the popular kids, you know. But they didn't
Yeah.
ever like they were the popular kids, but they never like called themselves nobody called them the popular kids.
Yeah.
Just sort of it was an unspoken thing of like these people are the ones who and I think if I'm correct, two of the popular guys may have won prom queen, king, and queen in my school.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's just because everybody liked them, you know,
Yeah.
and everything. Um, but yeah, it's so weird to me, like to think about that, like who, how sort of different the films are to reality,
Yeah.
because once again, a lot of these are cliches. This is this is Cabin Fever mixed with Texas Chainsaw, mixed with, all these different movies put into one movie, and then they tried to like make the ending be a twist. And it worked for me because I didn't see it coming. I didn't
I
even
think it
think,
should have happened sooner though. Don't you think it should have happened sooner? And then more the movie was about them trying to survive these zombie like cannibals. Like I feel
that
like
would
when
have
it
been cool.
happened, we had like 10 minutes left, but it would have made a better movie if that happened earlier on in the film.
See,
I feel.
yeah, and you know what? I think it would have been cooler if they never found Brody's body because he became a cannibal or whatever
Yeah.
zombie. Like he got eaten and then
Did it
turned
show
into a zombie.
that? Did it show him become a cannibal or no?
No, he wasn't.
Okay.
That was the guy that was driving to go get the, beer or
Yeah, and he
whatever.
just
And
disappeared, but the car was found.
yeah, but apparently the bad guy, the guy behind whatever, the bad guy there, he like was that he said something like the first is always mine, and then the rest
Uh-huh.
were he set up for that guy Epstein, who was play Epstein. It had to be Epstein of all
Of
names.
course, right? I thought of that. I was like, huh, this
Uh
film was years ahead of its time.
they didn't go to an island.
No.
That would have been another horror movie.
Yeah.
But no, they what is it? Yeah, Epstein was played by John Cassier though. Do you know who John Cassier is?
No.
The Crypt Keeper from Tales from the Crypt.
Oh, I did. I watched that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Wait, the actual Crypt Keeper?
That's the voice of the Crypt Keeper. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's cool. Okay. See,
I,
I
I,
was more like a Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps, but we
yeah,
did watch the Crypt every now
yeah. I was an Are You Afraid of the Dark
and
kid.
then.
Every snick, I would wait up and until 9:30, and then my mom would always yell at me because I'd be like scared and
It
shit as
was
a
so
kid.
awesome. That show's so awesome.
And then my mom would yell at me and then say, you shouldn't watch that or whatever. And I'm like, it's a Nickelodeon show. It can't be
Uh-huh.
that scary. And like my mom's like, it's Nick at Night. I was like, it's not Nick at Night till 10.
Or when it's Snick. At that time, when it's Snick.
Yeah, Snick with
Yeah.
the orange couch. Like,
Yes.
that was my youth right there. Like I did not go partying. Nobody invited me to a cabin in the woods. Like I literally would watch TGIF on Fridays,
Uh-huh.
Snick on Saturdays, and then Sundays I would watch like Ghost Rider or
Yes, I remember Ghost Rider.
yeah. So those are my I'm sure your childhood, a lot of people around my age's childhood and stuff. So we would, that would be my thing. And I feel like because we get streaming channels and everything, things are
Uh-huh.
so sort of different, you know?
Yeah. I don't even have cable because they robbed me blind. So I'm like fuck that. So I'm
Yeah.
just like I have everything streaming though. So I'm sure it's just as much money, but I don't see it like that. So
I mean, because you get more options too,
yeah.
that you wouldn't get. You can't watch like the movie that just came out, If, the imaginary, friend movie or whatever with Ryan Reynolds just came out on Paramount Plus. You
What
can't.
is it?
It's called If.
Yeah.
It's a TV show or not TV show movie. Ryan Reynolds where he plays like an imaginary friend who's trying to help him, and then they kind of show all the different imaginary friends out there in the world. It's interesting. It
Okay.
looks interesting. I haven't fully watched it. I was not liking the beginning of it. It just seemed too slow, and I'm like,
Yeah.
this is a kids movie? Like, come on,
Yeah.
get to like something fun happening. And it
Yeah.
was very dark, a little bit. Like it started in a hospital basically. So I was
Yeah.
like, ugh. But anyway, yeah, so that movie's on Paramount Plus, but you can't get that on like CBS, where Paramount
Mm-mm.
Plus is part of CBS. You can't get that on CBS. You have to get
Right.
it on Paramount Plus. So you might as well get Paramount Plus, which also has everything that's on CBS and Nickelodeon and
Yeah.
MTV and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I I get it. It's just like what I would like them to do, which I'm throwing this out in the universe because I want this to happen, and I don't think like unless I were running a digital thing like that it would happen, but I would love for like Paramount Plus to start uh creating or not Paramount. Yeah, I guess because they're Nickelodeon, but they could bring Snick back
Yeah.
on Paramount Plus. So like
That's
at 8 o'clock they would put out, all that,
yeah.
or like the new all that, or the new, whatever show that they want to bring back, and then bring back the real Are You Afraid of the Dark? None
I
of
think
this
it's on Paramount actually. Are you afraid of the dark? I might be wrong, but I think
old
it's on Paramount.
episodes, yeah, but I'm saying bring back a whole new thing
Right.
of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because right now you could have your own Snick. You could watch Clarissa Explains It All and Ren and Stimpy and all that stuff on, on Paramount Plus at
Yeah.
8 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night if you wanted to. I'm just saying, like, if they had a whole block where they did that, where it was like live and you could actually watch it, like when everybody, right on
Yeah.
the thing, wouldn't that be cool? Like,
That would be cool.
that would be cool,
Especially for people our age. Like we would be the ones watching it. And then our kids, if we had kids, we'd make our kids watch it.
right? That's
It
kind of
would be
why.
popular.
That's why I love having a little like nephew, because like I have my great nephew now. Now I'm like I can introduce him to shows that he would never hear of, like
Yeah.
whatever. And we live in an age where I'm paying for Paramount Plus very happily, and
Right.
I get these shows and these movies that I grew up on, and
Yeah.
stuff. So I love it. But yeah, this movie's on Tubi. I mean, we live in a world where Tubi's free, you know?
Yes. YouTube's one of my favorite apps because the horror, there's so much horror on there.
So much bad horror too. I mean,
Yeah.
I hate to say it, like they accept a lot of bad movies as
Hmm.
well. Like it almost feels like as long as you did everything right to submit it, they'll just accept it,
Oh yeah. I do
right?
have a question. In this film, in the end, when he sprays the guy with pepper spray
Mhm.
and he gets up, was it me or did it look like his face was like deforming into something? Or was it just from the was it just swollen from the pepper spray? Because he looked different. He looked like his eyes were like that, like he just looked.
I
So I didn't know if you caught that or not.
I did catch that, but I sort of thought that I didn't know if that was pepper spray necessarily.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was that he was spraying. But it might have been
Oh, it
pepper
was the
spray.
bear spray. I think it was the
Bear
bear
spray.
spray from the car, but I just didn't know if it was his face was swollen from that, but it looked like his face was like transforming into something.
Well, you knew that guy wasn't gonna leave his girl, right? Like
No.
you did know that, right? Like when you're
Yeah, of
watching,
course.
you're like, he's gonna leave to go get a weapon,
The
of
bear
some
spray
sort.
was a good touch though, because I was like, oh yeah, because in the beginning of the car, they were like, why do you have bear spray? And she was like, for protection, or I forget what she said, but
Yeah, well, considering that the bears were hibernating, in which they make another joke at, or not joke, but like they mention that later
mhm.
in the movie, is like maybe they was killed by a bear. It's like a bear would have, bears are hibernating right now. So
Yeah,
no, I yeah, I don't know. Maybe the bear spray had some kind of effect on his aging thing, on his stuff that made him look like how he would have would have actually looked like had he been whatever. I don't know. There was not, I mean, nothing was talked about in that. So it
Yeah.
just, it just was like, I guess, makeup to make him look, like he got attacked by bear spray.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. That was
I,
probably it.
yeah. Otherwise it would have just, it would have looked like he just was attacked by water or air or whatever he was actually attacked by.
Yeah.
So, because, obviously it didn't really spray him with bear spray. I don't think so. That would be
Yeah.
fucked up. Like if they were like, "Oh, here's the prop bear spray thing," and he squirted him as that's not a prop. That's the real
Like
bear spray. You know?
like the crow, but bear spray.
Yeah. Oh man, it's kind of messed up to kind of joke about that, but with the world right now and like Alec Baldwin getting off for
Yeah.
stuff that he did on a technicality, which whatever. I mean, I you know I can't say anything because I don't know the full. I wasn't there, for that
Right.
set. So I just know they're trying to put that movie out, and I'm like, I don't think anyone wants that.
Yeah, I don't even
Like
know what movie it is.
it's called Rust, and
Okay, yeah.
uh, Jake Busey was in it, Gary Busey's son,
Oh, he was in
and
Identity. Remember
he,
Identity?
yeah, I haven't
He
seen
was
Identity in forever, but wasn't that
good.
John Cusack or something?
Yes, Ray Liotta. It was a good movie. I liked it.
Um, so Jake Busey's in it, and the only reason I know he's in it is because he was on a live chat on Instagram, and he's like talking to everybody on the beach, with his dog, and just having a nice day, and he's just doing he's been doing these live Instagram chats with people. Now he's starting to try to, I guess, be more with his fans, and stuff.
Mhm.
And so he gets asked like what projects are coming up, in the comments. And he's like, oh yeah, I got this and I got Rust coming out. And I was like, wait, what? The
Yeah.
movie's still coming out? Like they're not just I mean, uh they're unless they get rid of that scene
Yeah,
in the
because it was in the
movie.
middle. Were they done with the movie? They weren't done with it though, right?
They weren't finished, but they did have to take a huge break. And I
Yeah.
don't know what happened, but like if they have that scene in the movie, I'm not
Yeah.
watching.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even know if they have that scene in The Crow, like if they cut that out,
That's
because
an interesting point.
you know what I mean? Because like, who really wants to see like a real gun going off?
Yeah.
And that the gun went off, and in this case in Rust, it accidentally killed a camera
Yeah.
operator, but it could have very well killed anybody else too, or whatever. And so it's just like I don't.
How does that happen though? How does a real bullet get on set?
There was a
That's what I
lot.
don't get.
There was a lot of talk, and this became the problem with The Crow. Is The Crow, and I heard this from Michael Berryman, who was in Hills Have Eyes. He was one of the mutant guys, and he was in like Weird Science and a bunch of stuff. And I was interviewing him, and he talked about how in The Crow was non-union, which I did not know, which meant
Oh,
that uh that they didn't have a union set and union uh crew. And when you
yeah.
don't have a union crew, mistakes happen a lot more because unions are very, very careful about
Yeah.
every single thing. So they had, I believe, and Rust, they had a union crew, and then the union crew, like something happened and they quit the production. And so a new crew came in that was
Yeah.
non-union, and the person that was doing the prop stuff, the prop girl, she messed up. So that's what I
Right.
heard. Now I don't know the specifics. I wasn't there. This
Yes.
is just allegedly what. And I can't really, if somebody wants to like attack here and say no, that's not right and blah blah blah, please tell us, inform us what was actually right because I don't
Yeah.
know exactly. But I do, that's what I heard, that's what I read. And I know Alec Baldwin went to court and there was like a mess up, you
Yeah.
know, and then he got off on a technicality, and then
Hmm.
they said they can't retry the case. And
Yeah.
so he is now, you know, but his career, I mean, that's
Yeah.
not that's gonna hurt your career, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm. Um, maybe he'll work with Kevin Spacey on something, you know. Those guys have a bad time right now.
Right.
But anyway, so yeah, so um, all in all, did you enjoy the movie again? Like,
I do, but again, I'm biased because I saw it before, and
and you like,
okay, I read an article about horror and why you like what you like. Oh, sorry, my iPad. Can you see me?
I
Okay.
can still see you.
Okay, good. My iPad's at 10%. But it was saying how, like, if you had a good experience that night, if you had a good dinner, if you went to a restaurant, if you had fun with your friends and you went to go see this movie, most likely you'll like the movie because of that whole entire night. So I think I just automatically like this because I liked it before. So going in, I still like it. Now, if you had to give me okay, if you probably won't agree with me, but if you had to give me a choice between this or Monster Island, I would pick this over Monster Island.
I picked this over Monster Island.
Okay.
So for people that don't know, where this Monster Island will be put that episode will be out in November. So this will come out before then. And we recorded that before this one. But Monster Island was a movie that we watched at the Asylum? Yeah. The Asylum? No. They didn't put that
Sci-fi
out. Sci-Fi put out. Yeah,
or
yeah, it was made
chiller?
for Sci-Fi. And it was okay, but it wasn't groundbreaking or very good necessarily.
Yeah,
This was a lot more fun. You know, I
definitely.
sort of agree with that.
I think they should make more movies about the Donner Party because they don't. Like this is the very first horror I've ever seen about it, and like I was telling you how I was shocked that so many kids now don't know who the Donner Party were. They have no idea.
Well, because and I actually had a thought about that earlier, was that the generation now that is learning about history, the history that they're learning about isn't the history we grew up learning about. You know,
Well, I
we
think
learned
yeah,
about the Donner Party, we learned whatever, but a lot of times they want to keep the history because a lot of those people, like I was like thinking about it with like uh the that new movie Horizon,
hmm
that Kevin Costner made.
yeah,
He put a lot of money into that. But I'm like, people don't like Westerns anymore unless you make it like Django Unchained, where it's revisionist history.
yeah,
Because we don't like the words cowboys and Indians. We don't like that stuff. We don't like how people talked back then,
right.
now. Or at least that's what the culture is like. Culture is trying to say we need to get away from all that. So
Hmm.
my problem with that is, as a millennial, is that we're going to get to a point where we're going to stop talking about history, right? As if history doesn't exist.
Hmm.
And uh and it's going to repeat itself
Yeah.
because nobody's
Because
going
like
to
when I
know.
was in high school, we watched Forrest Gump, and now they probably wouldn't even show that to kids in high school.
I don't
They
know.
might.
It might. That
Yeah.
that I don't think is it might have some bad words in it.
Yeah.
That inappropriate words that you can't say. I watched a movie that I was supposed to do for another podcast, and woof, the words that they were saying and the stuff that happened, I was like, ugh. The people were trying so hard to be like edgy,
Yeah.
and stuff, and hardcore horror or whatever, and I was like, ugh, this is not nice, and
Yeah.
not enjoyable.
But it
Uh,
was like made like recently, like it wasn't made back when they did it.
yeah, it was made in like 2023 or
Okay. Like Eli Roth, like Cabin Fever and stuff. Like I
I saw
liked
your
that
video
movie.
on that.
I love that. But like that's how it was back then. And I almost like miss that in horror, but it's different now when they try to make one now and then talk like they did back then, it just doesn't really work,
Well,
But if it was actually made back then, it seems more authentic. Like I don't know, I just enjoy that sometimes.
that scene that you're referring to in Cabin Fever is the funniest fucking scene in the movie
I
because
know.
when he says it, you have no idea what happens. And you showed both scenes where he says the word, and anybody who watches Cabin Fever will know that that old man, who's like the gun, oh, that's for the N word. And then you're like, I remember watching it and going, wait, did he just
Huh?
say that? Like, and everything. And then later at the end, he goes to get the gun, and you're thinking, oh shit, where is this going? And then he goes and gives the gun to them. So, this I got this all cleaned up for you.
I
And
know, so
right?
funny.
And it was cute. But
Yeah.
like that's how you do it, you know.
Mhm.
Problem is nowadays people watch that scene and people be like, they would just watch that part and they would be like, I don't want to watch this movie anymore.
Yeah.
They said the N word. I don't want to watch it. And they
Yeah.
won't stay for like the payoff, you know.
Yeah.
So anyway, I enjoyed this movie a lot more than I expected to. I thought it was gonna be okay-ish,
Yeah.
that's it. I liked it. Like I said, I'd own it and probably watch it again before I'd watch the other one, you
Yeah.
know, or anything like that. I'd watch this more than I watch any of the movies on Tubi, a lot of the movies on Tubi. So I say that with a lot of praise. And I think anybody should watch this. Like, if you're a horror fan,
Yeah. If you're just
especially
alone on a Friday night, turn it on.
if you're alone on a Friday night,
Yeah,
that,
turn it on.
yeah, I like some people, horror people like us, they would get that. I don't know if some people like I know people who actually are scared of horror films. It's
Oh yeah.
so refreshing to find those people because they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I have so many things to show you if you want to
Hmm.
watch them, you know. Um, but yeah. So anyway, thank you, Sky.
You're welcome.
How can people so you have a TikTok. That's how we found. Tell us about your
Yes.
TikTok. Like, how can people find it?
What is my oh, it's boobs and horror.
That's right. You
So
came out.
it's BOOBSNHORROR.
Yeah. And you came up with that on our show. You were
Yes, because you said it would
joking.
be a great name for a podcast. I think you said just boobs and horror would be like the best name for a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tried doing just boobs and horror on TikTok and it wouldn't let me, so I had to do boobs and horror.
Oh, was
And
it
it
too
does kind
long?
of it. I don't know. It explains my personality because I do have big boobs and I love horror, and it's catchy. And it
Huh.
was really funny because like I got on a live the other night with like the horror people, and I like came in and someone goes, "Who's boobs and horror? That's what I want to know." And someone was like, "Oh, that's Sky." It's just funny though.
It's just Sky.
I'm surprised TikTok actually allows me to pick that name. TikTok's weird.
I think boobs is not a bad word necessarily. Now, if you
Mm,
did like tits and horror, maybe that would be like a more like that's a no-no,
yeah,
But I think for some reason, because boobs is not a
I like
quote.
boobs anyway better than tits. I like the name boobs
I
better
I
than
do
tits.
too. Because it's so
Yeah,
silly sounding,
yeah,
which makes it okay to say,
yeah.
kind of giggle when you say it. But when you say tits, it sounds like that sounds very like serious and
Or
stuff.
like titties. I don't like the word titties either. It just makes me feel like I'm a cow or something.
Well, those are udders, aren't they?
Oh, that's true.
Which cows have many.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. It was nice, like it was nice having you on these shows so far, and you're I'm guessing you're coming back on like a bunch of them, so we're
Well,
gonna keep
thank you.
having you come on because
I
you're a lot of
appreciate that.
fun, and you you like you're a horror fan, you're a
Yes.
horror film lover, so you fit well with us,
I'm a horror film lover as the films that I like. Like, I don't love zombies, like as we were talking earlier. So I probably couldn't talk for an hour about zombies.
I mean, I could bash zombies for like an hour.
Yeah.
I
Or
mean,
like the Conjuring 2, 3, and 4. Like I haven't even seen those because I have no interest in it. I've seen the first one, but it's just movies like that. I'm just like The Witch and stuff
I
like that. I
haven't
don't really
seen The
love
Witch
those.
still. I own it.
Yeah.
Paul
You own
wants
it,
me
you
to,
haven't seen it.
yeah, Paul wants me to watch it with him for one of our shows, and he keeps forgetting that like we agreed to do that eventually. So I have to like one day I have to like remind him like let's do that because
Yeah.
because he just forgets. He's gotten to that point in his life where he just doesn't care and forgets. But me, personally, I don't know. I like slashers. That's my
Hmm.
main genre. I don't like zombies. I don't like westerns. So Western zombie would not be, or found footage. So if all those three things were together, I don't know how that would happen. Time machine maybe, but I would not be into that. You know
There's one found footage you have to watch though.
what?
And it's Hell House LLC. You've got to watch
I've
it.
heard of it, and I think you
Yeah,
recommended it to me.
it's
Um,
really good. There's four of them, but the first one's obviously the best one.
First one usually is.
I don't think you'll be disappointed.
All right, I'll have to check it out. Only because
Yeah,
you said you and I seem to have similar tastes,
yeah.
and everything. I mean, I still haven't seen, well, I mean, I have seen, but it's been a while since the Texas Chainsaw remake with Jessica Biel. It's been a while.
Uh,
Like I saw
love
that.
it.
I hated the new one. The
Oh,
Basically the woke one on Netflix. Like
it was
I
kind of nice though, seeing all these woke kids get attacked by a chainsaw.
It was, but then it wasn't because it was like they won too, I guess. Think
It
maybe.
was really annoying though. Like they were in Texas, and the girl's like, "Is that a gun?" I'm like, "You're in Texas." Like, yes, it's a gun. Like, it didn't go. It should have just been its own scary movie instead of tying it to Texas Chainsaw. You know.
Right. It was, yeah. I was not a fan of that one, but
And
I
then
like
the orphanage. Like, since when is he in an orphanage? Since when does it take place in downtown Texas? Like that, we could go on for an hour about that. But I had a lot of problems with that film
yeah, I feel like the people who made that movie never saw a Texas Chainsaw movie, and they
in their
just
life.
sort of like heard the cliff notes of what it was about, and they just made their own story up. And
Yeah,
Netflix just goes, "Here's, $30 million. Go make it,"
yeah,
or whatever. I was not a fan, but I am a fan of Texas Chainsaw. Like one and two was fantastic. Three and four are just fun and silly, and then
four
all
is
the
fine.
remakes are just, those ones are just more for today's audience, and
Hmm.
everything. Just like the Wrong Turn movies and stuff. So I love those as well, you
I do
know.
too.
We did that on Horror Film Lovers too. We're gonna get you back on that
Yeah.
thing with Michael and me. I think
I
when we
love Michael. I don't know
yeah,
what it is about him. Like the first time coming on, I was so nervous, and like he just has this like, I mean, you do too, but he has this like overwhelming friendly energy, and he just seems goofy and just like I don't know what it is about him, but
yeah,
he's just like, hey, like I don't know, he's just I like
he
him.
seems like a human cartoon. He seems like
Yes,
Shaggy from Scooby Doo in a nice way. Like
yes, he
that's kind
put
of
me
like
at
a
ease. He put me
yeah.
at ease. Yeah,
He's very chill and very cool, and I always love having him on, and he has always something really smart to say about the horror film industry, and it's great because he's an actor in the horror film
yeah.
uh, you know world. So there you go. But we'll have to have you back on. I think we're doing Final Destination 3 is what we decided. So
Oh my gosh,
um,
with the roller coaster, I haven't seen that in forever.
yeah, which has the girl from
Mm-hmm. Monster
Monster
Island.
Island,
Yeah,
in it. So, but yeah, I'm huge. Like I love that or number two are my favorite. And
oh
number
yeah.
two, I feel like gets talked to death about. And I feel like number three does not get as much love as it
Well,
should.
what about one?
I mean, one's everybody's favorite, like
Oh,
pretty
okay,
much. Like, you
yeah,
know what I mean? Like
of
that
course.
definitely, like whatever. But I like to pick the sequels and stuff that,
Yeah.
you know, at some point I want to do for one of my podcasts, I want to do, uh, maybe did I do it? I don't know, but Friday the 13th Part 8, which does not get the love it deserves.
Jason on a boat.
Yeah, Jason on a boat, on a cruise to Manhattan, but actually in Canada. That's
Okay,
how it should have been called, you know?
that would be funny.
Yeah, that's a little longer of a title. Maybe that's why they chose it just to say Jason takes Manhattan for
Yeah.
2 minutes. He's there. That never bothered me. I don't know. I liked the boat kills and everything. And once again,
Mhm.
or I think I don't know if I mentioned this before to you, but I love boats. So I love movies where they're on a boat. So just put me on a cruise ship for a whole movie and I'm A-okay with it.
Okay.
But all right, everybody. Hope you guys had a fun time. Check out Donner Pass on Tubi. Tomorrow I'll have another episode, another guest. I've been sort of doing guy, girl, but right now I've actually been recording all the girls like back to back. So now I have to start getting all the guys back to back, including Michael's coming on. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Um, but hope you guys enjoyed this and yeah, stick around, Sky.